In a big desert, a story begins with some soldiers resting on a nearby rock. A princess with yellow hair can be seen drinking water and is told by the soldiers that they're close to where a big monster was last seen. She warns them to be careful, and then your mother seems to show up in this anime. The soldiers get scared, but the princess tells them not to worry. She gets ready to fight with her strong sword and defeats the monster. The soldiers are happy and cheer for their princess, who leads the 3rd Field Legion. Later, the princess is in a big dungeon with chains on her, and her sword X is there too. X talks to her, and says many nights have passed since the Imperial army fought the Demon Lord's army. The princess is captured by the Demon Lord, and X tells the story of her victories, saying she's really strong. The story switches to the demon and a girl with big eyes who reach the prison. The girl, named Tortura, and a monster start asking the princess about Empire secrets. But X, the Holy Sword, says the princess is not just a princess, but also the leader of the 3rd Imperial Legion. Tortura says they're moving to the 2nd plan, which involves hurting her a lot to get information. It turns out Tortura is the top investigator in the Demon Lord's army. She's not normal and was picked by the Great Demon King because she can get results in strange and special ways. The sword becomes angry when they plan to torture the princess. It tells them that agreements say no to torture, but Tortura says human laws and agreements don't matter in the Demon Kingdom. The princess calms the sword, saying not to worry, as she'll stay silent even if they torture her with flames. Tortura opens a strange contraption, revealing toasted bread. The Holy Sword laughs and questions what she hopes to achieve by tempting the princess with food, reminding her that she's a commander, not a child. Excited, the princess looks at the food, but when she tries to eat, the sword hits her head to wake her up. The princess explains she's not giving in, she just smells the delicious aroma and wants to eat like any human. Tortura does something to the princess, and she dreams of a golden carpet leading to a vast land with ripe wheat fields and the fragrance of white flowers like snow. The princess weakens in the presence of the bread, and the sword urges her to resist. The princess regains consciousness, apologizes, and asks to wipe the drool from her mouth. Tortura tells them to be silent, and cuts the bread. The princess weakens again at the beauty of the sound, and the enticing crunchiness makes it more appetizing. The sword calls out to her to wake up, and the princess does, more determined this time as the commander of the 3rd Imperial Legion. She won't surrender to such temptations. Tortura seems to pity her, but she says the torture isn't over. She then presents a dish of beef soup, causing the princess to weaken again. Tortura cuts a small piece of bread and dips it into the soup, further tempting the princess. She tries to stop her, but Tortura pays no attention and continues eating, angering the princess. Eventually, the princess fell to the ground, and Tortura told her she would spill all she knew. The princess, saddened by revealing secrets, asked for some toasted bread, even just one piece. Tortura, standing firm, said since she had divulged Imperial secrets, the torture was over, and there would be a celebration with a feast of toasted bread. The princess was overjoyed, eating voraciously and expressing immense happiness. The scene then shifts to Tortura in her room talking to the mysterious demon. She reveals their army is extremely weak, and using such a trivial secret for victory shows desperation. They decide to postpone the princess's release until she provides information their army can exploit. Tortura swears to continue torturing the princess daily, and the next day she goes to the princess, announcing it's time for another round of torture. X, the talking sword, converses with Tortura, discussing how she managed to defeat the princess yesterday due to her hunger. However, thanks to Tortura's bread torture the previous day, the princess is now filled with bread. Today is the day the princess and the commander of the 3rd Imperial Legion will stand firm no matter what torture you subject her to. As they observed, X and the princess witnessed the monster cooking. The princess, seemingly unaffected, asserted that she can't be tempted by food she hasn't tasted before, like takoyaki. She knows what it is because she used to watch through the palace windows during festivals, and citizens would buy them from food stalls to eat with family or friends, making her feel jealous then. In response, Tortura handed her a piece of takoyaki. The princess was enchanted by its taste, describing it as delicious, crispy on the outside with a piece of octopus in the middle, all dancing together in her mouth. She then proceeded to disclose everything, revealing the hiding place of the Empire's ultimate weapon. The scene transitions to Tortura speaking to the monster, expressing fear about using a weapon of such power. In her internal monologue, Tortura pondered about finding a different torture method if the demon lord was afraid. The next day at midnight, Tortura approached the princess, announcing it was time for her torture. The sword questioned the late-night torture, implying a lack of ethics in the demon lord's army. Tortura replied, saying she chose this time for a reason. The princess understood, acknowledging that depriving her of sleep was a form of torture. Tortura affirmed, stating that sleep deprivation might be challenging for an ordinary person, but the princess, being a commander who had fought in fierce battles for days without sleep, was accustomed to it. The princess added that she hadn't slept for 4 nights once while playing video games, so she was used to sleep deprivation. However, Tortura spoke, saying today's torture was not about depriving her of sleep. She then brought a box with her and opened the box, where a lot of air came out. The princess exclaimed, saying that this scent and warmth packs destructive power. That was when a very delicious meal appeared before her eyes, making the princess's stomach growl because she was very hungry and loved this delightful dish called ramen. The princess said that her stomach was preparing for sleep, but now, due to the visual stimulation and the scent of ramen, her stomach is like an excited child. The princess asked Tortura to give her this meal, but the Sword X warned her not to do so, advising her to avoid looking at it. It was not just ordinary ramen, and consuming it at this late hour would negatively impact her health and cause stomach pain. The princess acknowledged the danger but expressed her inability to resist its deliciousness. The chief investigator of the demon lord's army began consuming some of the broth as a temptation for the princess. She started eating the delicious noodles to entice the princess, who, in response, struck the ground. The sword ordered her to resist, but the princess requested him to end her now. Sword X advised her to show some patience, stating that ramen is a meal one enjoys quickly, implying that the torture wouldn't last long. The princess agreed, stating that as she becomes accustomed to the influence of ramen, she will control herself this time, and she will never give in. The chief investigator decided to further tease the princess. She then brought out a bowl filled with rice topped with spicy pepper paste and garlic, stuffing it with seaweed soaked in ramen broth. She started eating again, and the princess was shocked, unable to resist because eating is her weakness. She fell, thinking about noodles and spinach. Eventually, the princess couldn't resist and confessed again to another royal secret. Afterward, the investigator asked about how satisfied the demon lord is with the secret she brought him today. The answer was greeted with the usual dissatisfaction, and the investigator informed them that she would do her best tomorrow. Suddenly, 2 soldiers of the demon lord entered, requesting to take over tomorrow's torture session. To which the investigator agreed. Meanwhile, in the prison cell, we see the princess sleeping soundly, dreaming of toast and the other delicious food she had just experienced today. The next day, as Tortura enters the princess's cell to carry out her torture, it seems that today's torture will be different. Then 2 girls, Yuki and Inki, enter and welcome the princess in their own unique way. In those moments, the 2 attendants bring in a PlayStation console and set it up inside the prison. They start playing a beautiful game called Super Jump Fighter. The game begins, and the princess watches them play, astonished and appearing to want to join in. X laughs and dismisses it as nonsense, ridiculing the idea of torturing the princess with children's games, especially since she is the leader of the legendary 3rd Legion known for her bravery and leadership qualities. However, as we return to reality, they invite the princess to play with them. Initially, the princess refuses, stating that she will never surrender. Tortura then intervenes, telling the princess that the game can be played with 4 people. The princess becomes extremely happy. And we then see the 4 of them sitting together, playing the game in perfect harmony, all feeling great happiness. The game starts, everyone engages in significant battles, and finally, we see the princess launching another attack on her opponent and winning. They congratulate the princess on her victory in the game, praising her excellent performance. And they decide to play another round, making it another day of the princess's confessions. After finishing the game, the princess talks to Inki and Yuki, expressing her desire to play again. However, she quickly reconsiders, remembering that she is a princess and a leader of the Imperial 3rd Legion, and they are supposed to be enemies. Yuki reassures her, stating that they are no longer enemies but friends. They promise to return for another round of torture, and the princess is delighted. They console her gently, expressing their intention to add each other as friends on the internet. The princess agrees, and they proceed to add her. X is annoyed and questions the princess because she owns a phone and hasn't used it so far to call for help. Next, we see the demon lord, a massive and terrifying demon with a frightening face. His pig assistant informs him about the empire that is vulnerable on Wednesdays. But the demon lord objects, mentioning that there will be crammed school on Wednesdays, making the information useless. The scene shifts to Tortura, taking a hot bath and contemplating a new way to torture the princess to reveal another secret. She recalls sending one of her assistants on a mission to the western town, and her return is imminent after completing her task. On the following day, Kral, a monster tamer, arrives at the prison to torture the princess as well. And when X hears that Kral is a monster tamer, he bursts into laughter, remembering the princess's encounters with fierce monsters, which she easily defeated with a single blow. Kral then advises the princess to face the upcoming monster bravely, and the nervous princess looks towards the cell door. When the monster appears, it turns out to be a tiny and adorable bear. The princess is initially tense but quickly falls in love with the cute bear. Seeing this, X tries to bring her back to reality, but she remains enamored with the bear. Following that, Kral takes the ball away from the bear, making it sad. The princess couldn't bear to see the bear in distress, and she became saddened too. She shouts at Kral to let the bear play as it was. Kral responds by saying that the choice is in her hands, and the princess becomes angrier because this is a truly despicable act from the demon lord's army. But she senses that Kral regrets her actions and asks if she is sad or remorseful. The bear, however, grabs onto Kral's leg, expressing profound sadness, which made Kral cry out of regret, throwing the ball on the ground and apologizing to the little bear for what she did. X talks to the princess, expressing disbelief at the situation but acknowledging that they won today. The princess then responds, saying she refuses to betray her friend, whether it was part of her job or not. She admires her friend's determination, declaring that she will uncover the secret nevertheless. Next, we see the princess playing with Khatan, wanting to hug him. But she did not provide any useful information today, so the torture will continue. On the next day, a new day of the princess's torture takes place in a different location. They instruct her to wear headphones and a mask to preserve the secrecy of the place. The scene transitions to the princess in a swimming pool, where a girl named Giant, a 4th-grade combat soldier and a torture officer, appears. The princess is astonished by Giant's massive size. X then speaks, questioning the reason for bringing them to a hot spring. Giant responds, stating that hot springs evoke a great feeling and are more suitable than torture. X understands that Giant plans to use kindness to deceive the princess but emphasizes that the princess is resistant to such tactics. Giant calms the princess down and hugs her. And the princess is delighted, reminiscing about her childhood and her real mother. X is surprised by their behavior. Later, the princess makes some confessions about the Empire, unable to resist the affection and warmth. The demon lord notifies the soldier that these confessions are still not enough, so the time for another round of torture arrives. This time Tortura tempts the princess with a delicious treat, a light snack of chocolate-filled biscuit chips. X dismisses it as a common snack, stating that the princess has enjoyed better snacks since childhood. He reveals that her faithful knight Jamochi has been preparing all the finest snacks for the princess to consume even outside of the castle. But at that moment, the princess drools for the delicious treat. X asks if she has had this snack before. And the princess reveals that they used to stop at a candy store on their way back from lessons, and her faithful knight Jamochi once gave her some of these chocolate-filled biscuit chips. Reflecting on the past, the princess asks not to tell her mother, as the old man used to do things that delighted her, expressing care and love. The princess reassures X not to worry, as she is not attached to those snacks. She explains that the particular snack was overpriced, stating that she usually buys snacks with a group price ranging from 10 to 20 yen. Tortura then begins the torture, enticing the princess with banana and chocolate-filled biscuits, as she starts eating them one by one to tempt the princess. The princess admits feeling jealousy and wanting some of the delicious biscuits, but asserts that they won't break her today. Suddenly, the princess notices cute images on each piece of the biscuit, and imagines the biscuits breaking in half. She requests Tortura to stop, describing the sad feeling when the images on the biscuits are underappreciated. Despite repeated requests to stop, Tortura continued to eat the biscuits without looking at the cute bears. The princess becomes very upset, and at that moment, she gives in, saying she will talk and confess one of the secrets of the Empire. And at that moment, the princess reveals to Tortura about the queen's shoe size, which is 23 centimeters. The princess is then left overjoyed with the chocolate-filled biscuits and the delightful images on them. On the other hand, we see a powerful knight and hero gazing at the demon lord's castle, declaring that he has come to rescue the princess. The scene shifts inside the demon castle, where the princess is met by 2 other girls who plan to take her to an amusement park. The princess becomes enticed and longs to participate in the rides. However, when they ask if she wants to accompany them, she firmly refuses, stating that she is a prisoner in this place. They tell her she can ask the chief investigator, Tortura. When the chief investigator finally arrives, the princess requests to leave, but Tortura informs her that she cannot go. Enraged, the princess shouts at her, asserting her right to go somewhere else. In an attempt to change her mindset, Tortura agrees to consider it but makes it conditional on the princess revealing an imperial secret. This enrages the princess even more, and X accuses Tortura of orchestrating this as a form of torture, believing it to be a calculated plan from the beginning. However, Tortura provocatively reveals that the invitation to the amusement park was entirely genuine, adding an unexpected twist to the situation. X advises the princess not to be deceived again. An hour passes, and the princess still refuses to speak. Tortura begins to convince her that if she reveals just one secret, they will send her to the amusement park using teleportation to accompany Yuki and Inky. X warns the princess not to be fooled, as those girls only follow orders, and their invitation was just a trick. This is not new to her, having faced betrayals from those she considered comrades before, and she will never surrender. Tortura then informs the princess that the amusement park is now open, acknowledging that the princess has triumphed today by withstanding the torture. Suddenly, Yuki and Inky call her to ask about her whereabouts, and shortly after, they inform her that they will be waiting outside for her. Overwhelmed with emotion, the princess pleads with Tortura. The princess confesses, and the scene shifts as she is transported using magic to arrive at the amusement park. They then start to enjoy their time, indulging in popcorn and delicious sweets. They enjoy rides and carousels at the amusement park, enjoying the company of each other. The scene transitions to the chief investigator speaking to the Demon King, revealing they've obtained valuable new information. The Demon King informs the princess that today's torture is sufficient, but his daughter will personally handle it tomorrow. The scene shifts to the princess watching pictures of their time in the amusement city when Tortura enters, informing her that today's torture will be conducted by the Demon King's daughter personally. The Demon King's daughter, appearing as a child aged around 4 or 5, the chief explains that the child, named Momo-chan, is trained in advanced torture. The princess becomes captivated by Momo-chan's cuteness as she dances and calls her sword. Despite X's warnings, the princess reassures the sword that she was trying to gather information from Momo-chan. However, Momo-chan tells the princess, stating she is only skilled in easy torture due to her age. Momo-chan has high expectations but lacks success in obtaining information through torture all this time. Feeling inadequate, Momo-chan cries, and the princess consoles her, encouraging her efforts. The sword questions the princess about encouraging the enemy, but she ignores him. As Momo-chan holds bubble wrap and pops bubbles, the princess feels nothing but acknowledges Momo-chan's cuteness. Despite her lack of emotional response, the princess desires to share a secret to prevent Momo-chan from getting upset. The prison guard encourages Momo, praising her performance, and grants her freedom to do anything to the princess. Momo approaches the princess, removes her restraints, and suggests playing a game of tag, which the princess joyfully agrees to. The scene shifts to the Demon King receiving the key password to the Imperial army. Delighted by his daughter's achievement, but he vows not to let anyone else see it, wanting to frame it at his home, as a memento. The next day, Tortura enters the princess's cell and informs her that today's torture will involve a specific Chinese dish. The sword is shocked as he knows the princess loves Chinese food, making enduring this torture challenging for her. She confesses her love for Chinese food, narrating her experiences at a hidden Chinese restaurant with Jamochi. Despite her love for Chinese cuisine, the princess finds this particular dish different. The soup inside burns her mouth, making it less appetizing. The sword rejoices at the opportunity to triumph over this enemy, but the prison guard interrupts, explaining the correct way to consume the food. Tortura advises her to place the dumpling on the soup ladle first, open it to let the soup out, and let it cool. The princess's facial expressions start to change upon hearing this, causing the sword to become tense. However, Tortura starts drinking the broth in front of the princess as a temptation, and the princess desires it greatly. Tortura shows the deliciousness of the soup to entice the princess, who confesses after being overwhelmed by the tempting aroma and taste. She reveals the secret of the empire. The security rotation changes every Sunday, weakening security on that day. After the confession, the princess eagerly starts eating the meal, displaying extreme happiness. Meanwhile, Tortura informs the Demon King about the weakness in the security rotation on Sundays, suggesting an attack on that day. However, the Demon King rejects the idea, preferring to watch anime series airing on Sunday mornings when they are least expecting it. Outside the Demon King's castle, the mysterious knight is still standing there. He enters to rescue the princess, initially making her think that the food has arrived. He reveals that he cast a sleep-inducing spell throughout the castle and introduces himself as the White Knight from the first Imperial team, Louch. As memories from the princess's past surface, it becomes apparent that she grew up dreaming of a strong warrior to save her one day. Back to reality, the princess is eager to see the knight who has come to save her, still in disbelief. Louch then removes his mask, revealing a less than handsome face. The princess comments on how reality is always different, stating that marrying someone with modest features might be more preferable. and the princess asks about their escape plan. Louch mentions that the effects of the sleep spell will wear off soon and suggests using a return spell to go back to the palace directly. And the knight begins to perform the rituals to activate the return spell, holding the princess tightly. As the spell progresses, the knight's hand moves upward, nearing her chest. But as the hand keeps moving upward, she strikes him to make him step back. The knight then vanishes instantly, leaving her alone again. Tortura stood boldly before the demon lord, informing him that she had no valuable information regarding the princess's whereabouts. She only had the final weapon's location in the Imperial arsenal, and the days of reduced guard and their military codes. The demon lord questioned her investigative skills, to which Tortura assured him of her unwavering ability. Despite this, the demon lord warned that he could strip her of her position but offered her a chance to prove herself. The demon lord challenged her to torture him. Tortura, ready for the task at hand. His servant, displeased with the situation, acknowledged the demon lord's formidable status and mental prowess. Undeterred, Tortura opened a storage door and retrieved a drink, presenting it to the demon lord as her choice for the torture method. The demon lord emphasized the need for a suitable torture method, suggesting that using something he enjoyed wouldn't be effective. His servant agreed, expressing doubt in Tortura's ability to defeat him with the drink. Tortura proceeded to pour the drink into a cup, demonstrating her method with precision. She explained that the strong pour would create fantastic bubbles, which would compress upon settling. Surprised by the smooth foam, the demon lord commented on its difference from the usual sloppy foam. Suddenly, he shivered from temptation, and the palace began to crumble, with stones falling from the ceiling. Rising from his throne, the demon lord's servant reminded him of his encounter with the strongest warrior in the Imperial army, who had resisted all his attacks. Tortura seized the opportunity to tempt the demon lord further, suggesting that he indulge in the drink immediately after pouring to savor its full flavor. Enraged by her persistence, the demon lord confessed his vulnerability to light magic, revealing a crack in his formidable facade. Tortura then extends the drink to the demon lord, urging him to taste it. It feels akin to the golden nectar of life, covered in foam, flowing through his body and filling him with joy. It's more than just a canned beverage, it's like the magic of light itself. The scene transitions to Tortura in her chamber, where she reflects on the demon lord's allowance for her to continue the torture. However, she acknowledges the limitations of the current situation in obtaining information. Determined to try something different, Tortura moves to the next phase. We then see the princess and her sword in captivity as Tortura enters, announcing a change in torture methods. Angered by the lack of trust from her sword, the sword expresses frustration in the princess's repeated failures. Tortura announces that she won't be torturing the princess today. Instead, she allows a girl named Gilga, a weapon and armor smith, to enter the cell. Gilga greets the princess and approaches the sword named X to examine it. Despite X's warnings, Gilga proceeds to torture him instead of the princess. Ignoring X's protests, Gilga firmly holds him to remove the rust and uses a rotating sharpening stone to sharpen him thoroughly. X screams in enjoyment as he feels stronger, his cutting edge enhanced. The princess encourages X to endure the torture, and he assures her that he won't reveal any secrets of their kingdom. After the torture session, Gilga informs X that she only performed surface work, expressing her desire to subject him to a complete treatment. The princess is shocked by Gilga's actions, but X reassures her that he won't reveal any secrets, acknowledging that being well sharpened is beneficial for both of them. However, to the princess's dismay, X ends up revealing a secret about their empire. Gilga proceeds to sharpen and polish him thoroughly, learning about the relationship between the demonic sword Moresa and the fiery sword Ammon. The princess looks at X with displeasure, but he apologizes for what happened, and she reciprocates, promising to endure the torture and try her best the next day. Crawl arrives, informing the princess that it's time for the torture. The princess expresses joy at seeing Crawl and inquires about the baby bear, expressing her desire to see him again. Crawl informs her that the baby bear is guarding the house and suggests a visit someday. Playtime is over as Wolf enters, and X warns the princess to be cautious, as this wolf is significantly stronger than any she's faced before. Crawl then declares the start of the torture as the wolf approaches. She affectionately touches the wolf's paw, marveling at its cuteness. The princess, too, finds the wolf adorable, but expresses her lack of jealousy towards it. Crawl is taken aback by the princess's reaction, becoming annoyed when the princess finds the wolf's cuteness distracting. Challenged by Crawl, who suggests she's risking half of her life, the curious princess takes a sniff and surprisingly finds the scent reminiscent of popcorn under the animal scent, describing it as comforting and soft. She thanks Crawl for introducing her to this new experience, and Crawl expresses happiness that the princess appreciates the excitement around animal feet. They decide to host an animal feet party at Crawl's house, concluding the scene. Indeed, the animal feet party begins, and the torture overseer is delighted by the presence of many adorable rabbits. Everyone, including the princess, plays with the animals, spreading joy and happiness. Afterwards, they all head to the garden, where suddenly, the Demon King's daughter appears. The princess captures photos and videos of the Demon King's daughter as she engages in various games and activities. In the video, the Demon King expresses his love for playing in the garden and instructs the princess to feel jealous watching him play. However, the princess continues capturing moments. X, the sword, frustratedly states that the princess will confess and join them, but the princess reassures X that it won't happen. She recalls her childhood memories of being prohibited from playing in gardens due to her royal status, insisting that gardens are not suitable for royal family members. The princess starts crying, admitting her desire to experience the joys of riding a swing, climbing on sports equipment, and building sand castles. X comments on her ability to surrender easily. The Demon King's daughter approaches, hugs the princess, and invites her to play together, which she agrees to. The Demon King's daughter comforts her, and she confesses once again. The princess plays with Mao Mao to compensate for her deprived childhood joys. They ride swings, climb to the top, and everyone joins in the play, reaching the peak of happiness. As the sun sets, they all walk together. The princess asks the Demon King's daughter what she enjoyed the most, and she replies that everything was enjoyable. The princess agrees, expressing her immense enjoyment of all the games. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Demon King, where a soldier informs him that they obtained the Imperial security code from the princess as requested. The soldier asks for the paper containing the code, and the Demon King laughs. He had gotten so engrossed in watching his daughter play, that he forgot where he placed the paper. Tortura told the princess it was time to start the torture. And the princess asked why they were at the river. The princess thought they were about to play by the river and wanted the torture over quickly. But Tortura said today's torture wouldn't involve playing in the river. And she said they were at the river for a special torture using marshmallows. The princess didn't like marshmallows because they often stick to teeth. And she asked Tortura to try something else. While they talked, Tortura's helper lit a fire. And Tortura said these marshmallows were special and that they would be grilled. The princess asked why they needed to grill marshmallows. But Tortura quickly grilled them, making them turn red. The princess was surprised, but her sword, X, told her not to give in. But Tortura said she wanted the princess to confess in exchange for the grilled marshmallows. The princess got mad and refused. So she took a marshmallow and forcefully fed her. And she found it delicious. She then talked to Tortura and agreed to share a secret for more marshmallows. X quickly warned her not to give in to the marshmallows. But the princess said she was in control. She agreed to share one secret and got all the marshmallows she wanted. She didn't know they got bigger after grilling. And the princess finds the marshmallow extremely tasty. Tortura then suggests they go play by the river, and the princess happily runs there to have fun with Tortura. Later, Tortura discusses with an assistant of the Demon King about today's secret. The assistant reveals that castle guards are weak against fire attacks, which is normal for humans. The assistant then asks Tortura to get another secret from the princess if she's still near the river, as ordered by the Demon King. Meanwhile, Tortura thinks of another torture method but worries about harming the princess due to excessive torture. As she moves away, the princess senses something, but X understands that the Demon King wasn't pleased. The princess becomes scared, realizing she might face more torture. And X reassures her not to give in just because she feels guilty. The princess firmly asserts that she's never shown mercy to enemies on the battlefield, and won't easily give in. But seeing Tortura's worried expression affects her. Tortura expresses disbelief that the Demon Lord would order her to torture the princess twice in one day. She acknowledges the Demon Lord's malevolence but feels obliged to carry out her duties. This made her wonder whether she's suitable for such tasks. At that moment, the princess joins Tortura, discussing the beautiful weather, and she suddenly reveals that the king enjoyed wearing briefs. Tortura is astonished that the princess casually reveals such information. But the princess lies about accidentally disclosing it, but she understands the princess did so out of compassion. The princess claims not to understand Tortura's concerns but appreciates the expression on Tortura's face. Tortura suggests making the most of the good weather, and the two decide to play together. However, their friend arrives, questioning if the day's torture has ended. The princess mentions her initial resistance and eventual surrender and asks about their activities. They share that they caught fish, ate together, and played in the river. The next day, the torture continues with Giant. She advises the princess to avoid the hot springs due to her sunburn, and suggests a sauna instead. The princess claims, saying she hasn't experienced it before, and tries it, describing the intense heat and suspecting it's a torture set up by Giant. Despite initial resistance, the princess enters a cold bath with a temperature of 17 degrees Celsius, finding it shocking but eventually adapting and feeling refreshed. She expresses gratitude to Giant for letting her enjoy the sauna. After everything was done, they enjoyed some milk coffee. In the evening, the torture session begins with the sudden appearance of demons, including Mad Kaiser, a demon the princess had fought in the past. Mad Kaiser holds a grudge against the princess due to a significant injury she inflicted during their last encounter. He vows revenge, but the princess is optimistic as she believes she has defeated all her adversaries before. However, the torture supervisor corrects her, stating that Mad Kaiser's presence is coincidental. Tortura reveals that today's torture, supervised by herself, will involve demons playing the role of ghosts hiding within the abandoned school building. The princess is challenged to endure a night of terror orchestrated by the demons. The princess asks about Yuki, and the torture supervisor explains that Yuki is sick, and she is substituting for today's session. The princess requests to visit Yuki, but the torture supervisor informs her that she can't do so until the torture session ends. However, she quickly reveals a secret about a passage leading to the castle in the eastern mountains. Tortura accepts this revelation, marking the end of the torture session. They then proceed to visit the sick Yuki. As they gather around Yuki, the princess apologizes for causing concern and disruption. She offers Yuki a drink and begins feeding her delicious food. The atmosphere becomes joyful, with everyone smiling and laughing. Later, the scene shifts to the torture supervisor, updates the demon lord's assistant about the day's events. But the assistant denies, fearing that the unlit passage might instill fear in the demon lord. Suddenly, the torture supervisor realizes that she left the demons in the haunted house without informing them that the mission had concluded. The scene begins with the demon lord congratulating Mao Mao-chan for her promotion due to her excellent work. He then offers to grant Mao Mao-chan one wish as her reward. Initially, Mao Mao-chan was hesitant, but she then confessed to her father that she wanted a piggyback ride for her reward. She then took back her wish and apologized because she thought about her father's status and didn't want to ruin his image. The demon lord was furious and scolded her, stating that he's also been holding back all these and that he'd really wanted to give her a piggyback ride as well. He then places Mao Mao on his shoulders and they enjoy the moment to the fullest. Mao Mao then thanks her father for the piggyback ride. This made the demon lord look back on his past where he was always taking care of his image due to his status. The demon lord mentioned attending concerts but stayed at the back of the crowd to avoid being recognized. But after today's lesson, he promised to go and enjoy the concert closer to the stage. He then recalls Mao Mao's wishes where she also said that she had something else in mind. He then convinces Mao Mao to tell the truth and Mao Mao tells him that she wants to play house with him. The demon lord then roleplays as the husband, while Mao Mao cooks some food for him. Next they continue to spend time together playing with dolls before giving Mao Mao a horseback ride. Mao Mao then states more of her desires which made the demon lord happy as he promised to fulfill all of her wishes. They spent the day outdoors blowing bubbles together, where they also played some badminton. They then proceed to spend the whole day together doing more and more activities to the point where they watched dandelions fly under a tree. That afternoon in the castle, the demon's servant tried to reveal a secret that they procured today. But to the servant's surprise, the demon lord told him that he was retiring for the night as he carried Mao Mao into her bedroom. The scene then shifts to the princess and X playing a Japanese word game. But suddenly, the room turned dark and Tortura could be seen entering the room. She then pulls out a flaming piece of iron which shocked the duo as the torture was about to get serious. Tortura then pulls out a cheese wheel and announces that today's torture will be melted cheese. This princess then shed tears of relief as she thought she was about to be tortured using the hot iron. Tortura then melts the cheese while using the hot iron. The melted cheese then covers a bowl full of food which further entices the princess. Unable to hold back any further, the princess then confessed a royal secret in exchange for the cheese bowl. That night, Tortura informs the demon servant about the royal secret which was quickly deemed useless as it was about voice actors. Tortura then thought about the next torture but quickly remembered that she's unable to torture the princess tomorrow. The next day, Tortura enters the chamber and announces a monthly physical checkup as it's been a month since the princess was kept here. Tortura pulls out a syringe to draw the princess blood for the checkup. But upon seeing the syringe, the princess quickly stated that she would confess. Tortura then offered to apply a local anesthetic in exchange for a royal secret to which the princess agreed to. Tortura then started drawing the princess blood, and the princess was amazed at the speed of the procedure, stating that it didn't hurt at all. The demon servant then reveals the secret to the demon lord about the location of the royal treasure. But the demon lord stated that he would feel bad if he stole the royal treasure and deemed the secret useless. The scene then shifts to White Knight coming back to rescue the princess after the previous failed attempt. This time with a newly acquired spell, he infiltrates the castle and frees the princess from her chains. The knight apologized for letting go of her the last time and told her that this new spell can teleport people without having to make contact. But the catch is living beings and materials cannot be teleported at the same time. This means that their clothes would be transported first before their physical body. The knight then begins chanting which slowly teleports the princess' clothes piece by piece. But upon realizing that she'll be buck naked after the spell, she quickly picks up X and slashes the knight, defeating him to cancel the spell. That morning Tortura came into the cell to give her a change of clothes and questioned how she had managed to damage the shirt badly. The scene shifts to the princess being tortured with 2 cats, seemingly almost offering a secret. Crawl then officially starts the torture. Today's torture is done by a cat who loves to cuddle and a cat who likes to sleep on laps. X, on the other hand, is skeptical of the princess' endurance. However, the princess tells them that cuteness alone won't make her surrender. Crawl then reveals that she has an ace under her sleeve and explains the true method of this torture. Seconds after Crawl's statement, the princess felt that her legs were going numb. She then realizes that the torture will force her to endure the numbness to avoid waking up the cat on her lap. Crawl then offers to pick the cat up without waking it in exchange for an Imperial secret. The princess quickly refuses, stating that she has been through worse and will be able to endure this torture. However, she forgot about the second cat, who quietly sneaked up behind her and proceeded to cuddle her feet. This made the princess quickly surrender and offer an Imperial secret. The princess then laid on the floor, feeling betrayed by the cats. She states that she'll never forgive them both. However, seconds later, the orange cat cuddled her, and they quickly reconciled. She then asked permission from Crawl to play with the cats. Crawl then offers the princess some treats, and they fed the cats together. The scene then shifts to Tortura, who's informing the demon's assistant about today's Imperial secret. However, the assistant told her that the Demon King was unavailable due to him preparing for an important event tomorrow. Turns out, the Demon Lord is preparing for Mao Mao's field day. The next day, they all attend the field day in Helholm's preschool. The field day is opened with a dance from the second-year children, before proceeding to the next event where there will be a race among the third years, including Mao Mao. Turns out, Inky's little brother will also be participating in the race. The race then starts and everyone cheers for Mao Mao and Insuk. An announcement was then made that the next event would be a parent-child kangaroo jump, tag team race. The princess then spots the Demon Lord who's also participating in the event. She mentions that this is the first time she's ever seen the Demon Lord up close. But she has a hard time believing that the true Demon Lord would attend a field day and brushes it off, thinking that it was a clone double. The scene then shifts to the Demon Lord and his assistant, where the Demon Lord discusses his plans for the princess' torture. He plans to have a face-to-face battle with her. They then take a break in the nearby park where they have lunch under a tree. Tortura has already prepared all sorts of dishes for the group to enjoy. Initially, the princess was skeptical, but Tortura convinced her as she's never tortured her during the weekends. They then enjoy the different types of dishes, but suddenly the princess spots Mao Mao and her family having lunch as well. They then fight over the last piece of food, but before they could finish Tortura scolds them for not finishing the veggies. The final race then begins. It's a scavenger hunt where the children must bring the items according to the paper they got. The Demon Lord then mentions that this will be the time where the final battle will take place. Turns out, he had already arranged Mao Mao's prompt so that she'll be asked to bring a person that she loves. The Demon Lord then states that even though the princess is very close to Mao Mao, he is sure that Mao Mao will pick him, making him the victor in this battle with the princess. The race then starts and everyone gets a prompt. As expected, Mao Mao was tasked to bring back someone she loves. The princess was excited at the thought of Mao Mao choosing her. But unbeknownst to them both, Mao Mao chooses a different person. The person turns out to be the Demon Queen. Seeing this made the Demon Lord upset and tries to convince himself that he has been expecting this outcome. The princess then comments on the beauty of the Demon Queen. All the other students also brought back various items, but Mao Mao was the first student to reach the finish line. To wrap things up, the announcer invited everyone to dance together in the final event. The field day then concluded and the Demon Lord gave the students a speech before handing out bear-shaped medals to everyone for their participation. The group then packed up, and Mao Mao suddenly came to check on the princess. The princess congratulates Mao Mao for her achievements, and the Demon Queen thanks the princess for looking after Mao Mao all this time. We are then brought back to the past, where Yuki and Inky are talking about their career plans. Inky tells Yuki that she wants a job where she can make people smile. That is why she plans to join the Demon Lord army as a torturer. Yuki commends her plans, saying that it suits her well. However, deep inside Inky wants Yuki to join her as well. But she wants to let Yuki decide for herself. Initially, Yuki had no idea what career she should pursue. But after some thought, Yuki then tells Inky that she wants to be a torturer as well, where she can spend her time together with Inky, as they've been friends for a long time. In the present, Yuki and Inky are doing some sort of dance in front of the Demon Lord. Turns out they are undergoing their promotion exams, and this dance is one of the forms of torture. The Demon Lord, seemingly confused, announces that they failed their exams. The scene then shifts to Yuki and Inky seeking comfort from the princess. They ask for advice on passing their promotion exams. But before the princess could say anything, X warns the princess about helping their enemies. However, the princess states that while they may be enemies, the duo are also her friends. They then come up with a plan to help the duo in their promotion exams. The princess then told them to analyze the situation clearly to point out weaknesses in the enemies. This sparked an idea in their heads and they quickly thanked the princess for her advice. However, before leaving, the princess asks the duo about the frequency of the tests. Yuki then reveals that they are able to take the test whenever they ask the demon lord, shocking the princess and X. They then reattempt their promotion exams and this time they tried doing the same dance. Seeing this disappointed the demon lord, but seconds later Inky calls out to another person to join in the dance. This person turns out to be Mao Mao, who quickly joins in their little dance. Upon noticing Mao Mao, the demon lord becomes tempted to join. But the only way he could join is by revealing a secret to the duo. Seconds after, the demon lord reveals a secret about his tendency to cry while watching an anime final battle scene. The demon lord then joins in their little dance, resulting in the duo receiving their promotions. We are then shown the princess with Mega right after their bathing session. Mega then asks how she stays clean on the days where they don't have shower sessions. The princess then reveals that her jail cell owns a shower which is located right beside it. Mega then invites the princess on a konbini run for some midnight ice cream. They then start walking to the konbini where Mega shares her love for walking. The princess could not relate, stating that she was rarely allowed outdoors since she was of royalty. Although she has led some more marches, she felt that it was totally different from going on a normal stroll. Hearing this, Mega proposed on taking a detour. She hopes to walk a bit longer with the princess, wanting her to learn the fun in walking. They then go on a little detour where they enjoy the countryside scenery while also enjoying the stars. They found resemblance of themselves from the different stars in the night sky. This opened the princess' eyes, as she didn't realize that there is a lot more to life. Things that she didn't know existed and the beauty hidden in parts of the world. Suddenly, they noticed a shooting star and made their wishes, keeping their wishes a secret from each other. They then arrive at the konbini and enjoy meat buns, while deciding on the route they'll be taking home. The princess then thanks Mega for showing her the fun in walking. The torture then continues and we are shown a brand new character. She is dissatisfied with the previous torture methods that seemed soft. The next day, Tortura introduces the princess to the torture marshal, Vanilla. X recognized her name in an instant, stating that she comes from the most ruthless family in the Hell Horde. Her goal is to show the princess the real torture that causes fear and despair. She then reveals that today's torture will be the roller coaster, and she gives the princess some time to reveal a secret, or she must ride the roller coaster. However, to her surprise the princess looked very excited. Tortura then tells Vanilla to accompany the princess on the ride in case she blurts out the secret mid-ride. They then ride the roller coaster, and Vanilla demands the princess to cough up the secret before the ride goes into full motion. The princess, however, seems to enjoy the ride but notices that Vanilla is deadly terrified of the attraction. The princess then came to the realization that Vanilla went out of her way to ride the roller coaster with her for today's torture. This made her sympathize with Vanilla and she quickly grabbed her hand. She made sure that Vanilla felt safe and comfortable during the whole ride, ensuring Vanilla that she won't let her fall. After the ride, Vanilla felt defeated. She's willing to reveal one of her own secrets because she lost. The princess then asked what her favorite rides were and stated that she only wanted to have fun together. They then spent the whole day together in the amusement park going on different rides. That night, after realizing what she had done, Vanilla promises to get revenge on the princess, not wanting to be defeated. The next day the torture session is on a break, since Tortura is currently attending a business trip. Meanwhile in the hotel, Tortura has just finished all her work today and is about to rest for the day. But before she goes to bed, she remembers that she had not eaten yet and decides to get something to eat. Usually Tortura prepares a balanced meal for herself, but since she's currently on a business trip she went to the konbini to buy some food. The first item she bought was a cheese ham burrito and a jumbo sausage. She then slowly opened the burrito and placed the huge sausage inside the burrito, making it similar to a hot dog. As she took the first bite, the cheese inside melted in her mouth and resulted in a huge cheese pull. She then continued to her second meal, which was a cup of udon. After some time passed, she opened the lid of the udon, revealing a huge fried tofu and soft noodles inside the cup. She then enjoyed the broth before starting on her udon. After that, she took the giant tofu which had already absorbed the udon broth. Before she went to bed, she also ate the fancy pudding she bought earlier. The next morning, she went to the hotel's breakfast buffet. Tortura felt like she ate too much junk food last night and wanted to consume more vegetables. However, she overheard a worker announcing that they had freshly baked honey butter rolls. She then took some of it and enjoyed her meal. The scene then shifts to the demon castle where a commander receives a report about the demon lord getting injured. He wonders on who could have possibly injured the demon lord, as his defensive magic is supposed to nullify all attacks. He then recalled that yesterday, he had felt the demon's lord mana surging throughout the land. He then tried to find out who the demon lord was up against, leading to his injury. Meanwhile, the day before, Momo and her family tried to bake some homemade cookies. Momo was hoping that everything went well, as it's her first time baking. The demon lord then gave her some moral support by telling her that it's okay to mess up. They then start by placing some butter into a bowl. But they have to wait for 20 minutes for the butter to warm up, which upsets Momo. Seeing this, the demon lord took matters into his own hand and melted the butter using his fire magic. They then proceeded to the next step, which was adding some powdered mix and eggs into the butter. However, Momo had zero experience on breaking eggs. Her mother, Lulu, then bragged about how she was able to break an egg with one hand. She then told Momo to pay attention and started her tutorial. First, she hit the egg against the table, which created a circular crack. Then she placed her thumb inside the crack and used the other fingers to pull the eggs apart. Momo then mixed the ingredients in the bowl and rolled them out. After the dough was all flat, they used some cookie cutters to form cute shapes for the cookies. Momo, however, skipped the cookie cutter part and shaped the dough using her hand. She claimed that she wanted to make the biggest cookie possible, which shocked the demon lord. The demon lord then commended Momo for her insatiable hunger, which is a good quality for being a leader. After some time, the cookies were done baking and Lulu took out the cookies from the oven. Momo was excited and wanted to see the cookies, but Lulu tried to put it away from her, as it was still hot. Suddenly, she tripped over herself but was quickly caught by the demon lord. Luckily, he also caught the tray of cookies that were still burning hot, which concerned Lulu as he caught it barehanded. The demon lord then lectured Momo on the importance of being careful. However, Momo saw that her dad's hand was injured from the burning tray. She told her mom to get the freeze pack and proceed to take care of her dad's hands. After all was done, they enjoyed the cookies they had baked together, ending the day. The next day, after Tortura came back from her business trip, the torture session resumed. But before they started, Tortura gave the princess a gift from Momo. Turns out it was the cookies she had baked with her family. The torture session then started. Tortura pulled out an expensive tea from her coffin. She revealed that her informants told her that the princess was fond of tea to the point of hosting tea parties in the past. However, the princess then revealed that she wasn't actually fond of tea and that tea was a mere diplomatic facade. She tells Tortura that she actually loved cola and lemon lime soda. In the past, Jumochi would treat her when she did well in her lessons. Tortura then started by warming up the pot, which amazed the princess. She mentions the proper way of brewing tea, which will result in a better tasting tea, which reminded her of the taste of tea. She then tried to distract herself by using the cookies she got from Momo. However, the cookies quickly backfired as it made her want the tea more. She then thought that this was Tortura's plan all along. To her surprise, Tortura had no idea on what the baked goods were and just passed it on to her. She then tried to fortify her mind by looking back to the past to remind her of how tea was not a big deal for her. However, this also backfired as she was quickly reminded of her love for tea. She then enjoyed the tea and cookies together with Tortura, marking an end on today's torture session. The demon lord's assistant then reported on the secret that was just revealed. There was a secret treasure buried in the royal cemetery which was capable of penetrating the Imperial army's defensive magic. However, the demon lord thought it was immoral to dig up graves, thus making the secret useless. The next torture session was led by Vanilla, who was happy that the princess still remembered her. She vows to get revenge with today's torture, which alarmed the princess. She then reveals today's torture, which was a cake she had made the day before. She mentioned that she made this cake all by herself without the help of anyone, which she was really proud of. She believes that the princess will burst into tears and reveal a secret as soon as she tastes the cake that was made with genuine love. X then comments on the messiness of the cake as it was not visually appealing. He also questioned the chocolate piece on top, which was supposed to be a penguin. Upon hearing his comments, Vanilla was really upset as she put a lot of effort into making this cake. Suddenly the princess defended Vanilla. She pointed out the parts that were clearly made with love and even recognized the penguin on the top. This made Vanilla happy as she broke down in tears after hearing the princess' comments. Vanilla thanked the princess and told her that she was allowed to eat the cake without having to reveal a secret. They then enjoyed the cake together with X also joining the party. Back at the castle, the demon lord was informed of Vanilla's back-to-back failures. The assistant believed that something must be done as her performance brought shame to the Hellhorde's army. The demon lord then told his assistant that this was the perfect time to call for a support network. The scene shifts to the princess in her bathing suit, preparing for today's torture against the trio. Tortura explains that today's torture will be a beach fight and that her opponents would be Yuki and Inky, the objective being to pop each other's balloons attached to their heads. But should she lose, the princess must reveal one of the Empire's secrets. However, Her opponents are confident in their abilities as they are the reigning champions of the beach fight for 2 years. Tortura then promises that if the princess wins, she will grant any request the princess has, even to the extent of setting her free. As Tortura signals the start of the match, Yuki and Inky rush towards the princess, adhering to their initial strategy. However, their plan fails as the princess quickly pops Inky's balloon. X boasts that they forgot the princess is the 3rd Legion's commander, insisting there's no way they could defeat her. The scene flashes back to the princess's youth, where she was trained by her butler Jamochi, who taught her everything she needed to know, always putting her dessert on the line during training. The princess then advances on Yuki, who suddenly summons a huge water machine gun from beneath the sand. Yuki reminds the princess that the only rule was to pop the balloons, and proceeds to fire at her. But to her surprise, the princess calmly deflects all the water bullets with ease. This display reminds Tortura of the princess's top-level swordsmanship, even within the Imperial army. As Yuki runs out of bullets, Tortura begins to worry that she might have to release the princess. Contemplating whether to join the fight herself, Tortura decides to stick to her principles, as she had specified that only Yuki and Inky would be the princess's opponents. Initially, this causes internal conflict, but Tortura ultimately decides that releasing the princess should not be an option. Not long after, from the horizon, reinforcements from the demon army closed in, comprising various members. The princess was delighted to see all her friends join in and prepared to face them all at once. She easily dodged the initial attacks from both Crawl and Mego, while also evading Yuki, who tried to strike her down. Suddenly, the huge dog popped Yuki's balloon, despite them being allies. Infuriated, Yuki declared a free-for-all, and they all had a lot of fun together. As the day came to an end, the princess voluntarily returned to her jail cell and locked herself in once more, even though she had won the game. The scene then shifts to outside the castle, where we spot the perverted White Knight up to his antics again. Suddenly, the Demon King spawns behind him and questions his identity, wondering what business a human has there. However, the White Knight responds with attacks, but they have no effect, with the Demon King remaining unfazed. He tries to converse with the White Knight, explaining that he just came back from a release event, which catches the Knight off guard. In disbelief, the Knight tries to dismiss the Demon King's claims and focuses his mana to release a huge burst of holy magic that lights up the entire landscape. But to his surprise, the Demon King remains unharmed. However, the recoil from his attack breaks the cliff he is standing on, causing him to fall. Suddenly, he is teleported back to the top of the cliff, realizing he has been saved by the Demon King. The Demon King tells him that his life is as valuable as his own and points out the emblem on his armor. It turns out the Demon King recognized that same emblem from his favorite anime. Shocked that someone finally noticed the emblem on his armor, the White Knight starts to grow fond of the demon he just met, not knowing it was the Demon King. This realization leads him to understand that not all demons are his enemies, and he quickly apologizes to the Demon King. The Knight then decides to abandon his initial mission and goes home, happy to have made a friend. Back at the apartment, Mao Mao notices her dad in a very good mood. The Demon Queen explains that her father is happy because he made a new friend today, referring to the knight he encountered earlier. Back at her home, Vanilla is playing cards alone, and wonders how fun it would be to have friends to play with, while reminiscing about the moments she has spent with the princess. This sparks an idea in her head, and she decides to use the playing cards as an excuse to torture the princess, hoping to play together. Vanilla tells the princess that she'll let her play if she reveals an Imperial secret. But this brings back a sense of nostalgia to the princess, who recalls secretly playing cards with her butler, using desserts as bets. Remembering how fun playing cards were, the princess initially puts up a strong facade and declines the invitation. However, after noticing Vanilla's reaction, she realizes that Vanilla just wants to play with her. Touched by this, she happily confesses a secret. The princess reveals that she initially thought she didn't need any friends but gradually realized that she did. This confession brings tears to Vanilla's eyes as she shares the same feeling. They proceed to enjoy each other's company and play cards together. Back at the castle, the demon assistant reveals the princess's latest secret to the Demon King, which brings a smile to his face. Meanwhile, Tortura finishes her daily report and sends it off. She decides to hit her favorite fast food chain to get an oyakudon. The consistency of flavor makes her so happy and grateful. Stepping out into the cold air after a warm meal completes the experience. Crawl leads the next session and presents a cute puppy named Snow that stands at his feet. The princess doesn't see herself falling for this, but the beast master feels differently and throws her a ball. The noble lady slowly gets captivated by the dog as she plays catch with it. However, she becomes furious and steps back. Her sword calls her foolish for interacting with the dog in the first place. The princess recalls how they used animals in their army but trained themselves not to get too attached to them. These techniques become useless against the formidable puppy dog eyes, whose level of cuteness has brought down nations. The princess admits that she always wanted to play with all the animals she came across in her travels. Eventually, she folds and rubs the dog's belly before drawing a map to the Empire's hidden passageways. The Demon King is impressed when the intel is presented to him. He intends to have Dark Ninja Gecko infiltrate the Empire. The undercover agent is summoned, but the pig reveals that Gecko plans to leave the Hell Horde to pursue a career in drawing comics. The pig explains that it was the guy's dreams since childhood. The Demon King, not one to crush dreams, allows him to leave and wishes him the best of luck. During this interim, the princess dreams as she sleeps and confesses to Tortura in the waking world because she's succumbing to the torment. X and Tortura allow her to rest when she says some nice things about them. She wakes up later that night thinking that Tortura was soft and cancelled the session because she was sleeping. She believes she has finally achieved a victory over them, little knowing that she has already given away enough secrets while sleeping. One day, the researchers at the Hell Horde lose control of a developmental spell, turning demons in the castle into children. The princess can't resist how cute Kid Tortura is and confesses that the Empire employs a secret order of knights known as the Zero Legion, which makes the Demon King admit that the name is cool. Not long after, the child versions of the other members of the Hell Horde come to play with the princess. X just switches off as the others have their fun. The following day, Tortura visits again for another session and she has grown. Tortura explains that the spell is gradually fading, so they will all be back to normal the next day. Tortura is in that teenage, self-conscious phase and is reluctant to serve the meat and potato stew. She states that her cooking skills were also reverted. The princess notices all the cuts Tortura sustained trying to make the meal and insists on eating it. She tastes it and confesses because it's so good. Meanwhile, the Demon King is enjoying the increased power given by his youth, but by the following day, they all return to normal. Tortura is happy to be back and begins the session with a pizza theme. Unfortunately, this is one of the princess's favorite foods. At this point, X wonders what isn't. The princess has hope that she will be able to resist since they don't know which type of pizza she likes. But Tortura counters this by offering her a pizza that allows one to have 4 varieties in one. The princess informs them of the location of the hideout her father uses to meditate. During this interim, Gecko comes to inform the Demon King of his recent success as he won the Newbie Award for one of the comics he was working on. It is revealed that his 5th book became a massive hit and will be turned into an anime. The scene then shifts to Vanilla reflecting on her recent encounters with the princess, feeling happy to have finally made a friend. Wanting to invite the princess to hang out, she sets aside her pride as a member of the noble Pashut's family and starts planning. Meanwhile, in her cell, the princess watches old videos of herself ice skating with Jamochi. X joins in, boasting about his own ice skating skills, unaware that Vanilla is eavesdropping just outside. The Pashut's family, a noble clan of vampires, serves as the right hand of the Demon Lord and is rumored to be the most ruthless among the Hell Horde, willing to do anything to achieve their goals. Suddenly, Alioto bursts into his room, frantically telling his wife he plans to rent out the entire ice skating rink for the next day. His wife initially objects, thinking it's a rash decision, but Alioto explains it's Vanilla's wish, as she wants to go with a new friend. Shocked that Vanilla made a friend, they quickly leave to arrange everything for her. Back in her room, Vanilla struggles to decide what to wear but remembers an outfit she saved for a special occasion. The next day, she and the princess meet at the skating rink, which Vanilla has rented just for the two of them. Awestruck, the princess hesitates when Vanilla shyly invites her onto the rink, misinterpreting it as a form of torture. Not wanting to shatter her pride, Vanilla plays along, hiding her disappointment at the misunderstanding. Stepping onto the ice, Vanilla realizes she's never skated before and soon begins to lose her balance. Just as she's about to fall, the princess zooms in, catching her. But the princess replies that all that matters is Vanilla's safety. Hearing this, Vanilla's eyes fill with tears as she admits her true intentions. Today wasn't meant to be torture, just a chance to spend time together. Happy to have bonded with her, the princess reveals an Imperial secret to improve at ice skating, and the two spend the rest of the day together on the rink. The following day, Tortura declares a new torture session. However, she quickly notices something off with the princess, who tries to play it cool. Tortura insists on checking her temperature and, noticing a difference, immediately cancels the day's session. The princess feels initially insulted but soon rejoices when she's given a futon and blankets to rest. She recalls her past experiences sleeping outdoors, even in unusual places, but Tortura interrupts, asking her what she'd like for today's meal. The princess is served udon and pudding as a special treat. Hours pass, and the princess falls asleep under Tortura's care. Back at the castle, Little Piggy reports her illness to the Demon Lord, who orders the torture marshals to nurse her back to health, even letting her keep the futon. After a few days, the princess is back to her peak form, eagerly awaiting her next torture session. However, when Tortura announces the session, the princess notices a change in her demeanor. Tortura reveals that personnel transfers are scheduled for tomorrow, meaning today might be their last session together. Even if they remain assigned to the same area, there's a chance the other team members could be reassigned, making the farewell even more bittersweet. Not wanting to end on a sad note, Tortura begins what could be her final session with the princess. Determined not to give in, especially with only Tortura present, the princess vows to endure. This prompts Tortura to call for backup, summoning everyone who has ever participated in her torture sessions to join in. On the day of the announcement, Tortura anxiously searches for her name in the crowd. Just as she finds it, she hears the princess's voice, and they share an unexpected hug. To their surprise, their entire group remains intact, and they all celebrate, eagerly looking forward to future sessions together. A few days later, the princess wakes up in an unfamiliar place, startled by the presence of the demon lord. Thinking he's a double, she's shocked when he reveals they were struck by lightning and somehow transported to another world. He explains he's seen this scenario in several anime and figures that saving this world might send them back. The demon lord sets off to confront the black lord of this realm, first facing off against 4 horsemen with a power level of 15. He easily defeats them, continuing on his way until Gourmet, supposedly much stronger, steps in, only to be swiftly defeated as well. After Gourmet's defeat, a massive black portal appears, transporting the demon lord to the Black Lord's castle. There, he's met by a group of elite warriors boasting power levels of 5,000. With minimal effort, he dispatches them all and finally encounters the Black Monarch, who is calmly eating black steamed buns and claims a power level of 980,000, asserting his invincibility. The demon lord lunges at the Black Monarch, yet his strikes fail to leave a scratch. Amused, the Black Monarch unleashes a powerful attack, but the demon lord blocks it barehanded and counters with a flurry of strikes. After defeating the Black Monarch, the demon lord returns to the princess, who's astounded that he saved an entire world in just 2 hours. He nonchalantly explains he was just thrilled by the chance to explore another world. The inhabitants of that realm celebrate their newfound freedom, and the demon lord and princess return to their own world to continue their basketball game.